Let's start with a round of introduction.
Hi everyone. So I'm Julien, one of the co-founder of Quantum Agency. Quantum Agency is an agency, a digital marketing agency. So we used to work a lot on the Web2 space, and now since 2 years ago we specialize in the Web3 space.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. I work for Michael Page / Page Executive. I think most of you might know the company. We're one of the biggest recruitment agencies around the world. I've been working there for 12 years, and last year, I switched to blockchain, or established that practice group, and yeah, I'm the first partner to focus on blockchain recruitment for C-levels. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. My name is Armin. Does this work? Yeah. My name is Armin. I'm president of the European Web3 organization in Brussels, but I'm also co-founder of Banana Corp here with Sando. We organize industry-specific events that we bring in the Web3 builders together with the executives of specific industries. We've done one with the fashion industry, supercars, watches, and wine and spirits coming along in the next 12 months in New York, in Paris, in Zurich as well. And the idea over there specifically is to listen to the executives and understand problem finding, as you may say, to better understand what they really need before to start building that. And that will also allow us to better understand what are the real builders in order to eventually the next step would be for us to invest in some of those companies and help them to grow.
So as I know, I'm Elias. I work also with Julien in Quantum Agency. I more focus on the business aspects and the content creation and how to develop brands into the Web2 and Web3 space.
Hey guys, I'm super excited to be here. I'm Key from Dubai. I've been in the blockchain space for the last 10 years, since 2013. We have been running Key Difference Media, which is the oldest blockchain marketing agency, and we recently opened our accelerator in Dubai, focused on businesses moving from Web2 to Web3. Being in the space for 10 years, we like to see real businesses, real value moving on chain, and as many of you here, we are also tired of looking at things on blockchain and Web3 which aren't of the qualitative nature. So that's what we're out to change, and we have a deep expertise in the crypto media space. I was the ex-CMO for News BTC, Bitcoinist, and many other crypto media. So with our infrastructure and our acceleration expertise and media, we look at bringing the next generation of high quality Web2 value on chain.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Swiss Blockchain Capital Day. So I think today's discussion we're gonna evolve around what kind of problem we have in Web2, what are the pain points, and how Web3 technology can solve those pain points. And let's start with Armin. Do you have some insights for us?
Sure. If we are talking about the problems of which earlier yourself and Elias mentioned about the problems that we have in the Web2 space in terms of the ownership and in terms of the problems that we saw with the different social media. I want to recall it in memory for everybody. Put your political ideologies aside, what happened especially in January 2021 when Twitter, Facebook and other social media platforms, they banned Donald Trump. A lot of people cheered for it, a lot of people were against it for various reasons, but it was mostly political. What people didn't realize, a lot of you guys here are in the investment side of the business, you may heard of the name of the gentleman Naval, very respectful and very respected investor in Silicon Valley and a modern day philosopher. That day, the day that this situation happened, I remember very clearly, vividly, that Naval sent out a tweet. And the tweet was, if you silence the king, now you're the king. So a lot of people didn't understand it at that moment, that they were also bashing that team. Why are you supporting Donald Trump or anything like that? They didn't have the capacity to look at it objectively. And that was a snowball effect, and a lot of these subjective censorships politically or during the COVID situation. And the same example that earlier Elias was saying, a lot of the creators believe that I created this video, I created this picture, this piece of a content in any format that I put it in social media, so this is mine, but they had access to it. They didn't own it. So that's the real problem that for the creator economy, in my opinion. And then in terms of like the solutions, maybe guys have other points to add in terms of the problems we have these days, but then on the solution parts, we can talk about it as well. I don't know who should.
I can just add something as a perspective here. When it comes to creators economy, we usually underestimate what it truly means. When we look at, you guys have been looking at different panels and speeches here about real world assets and so on. I see creators economy and real world assets as two parts of the equation. Real world assets is something that puts the assets in the hands of billions of people, bringing everyone inclusively into the world of blockchain, allowing them to gain from these benefits that the blockchain world provides and access their assets. On the other side, creators economy is the same thing, not from a money's perspective, but from time's perspective. Everyone here, we all have social media accounts. We all use social for ourselves, for others. We post about it, either to influence or just to share. And anytime we do that, we are making a platform richer by contributing to it, but we don't benefit from it, which is okay. For most of us, it's fine. We don't care, right? We are sharing for different reasons. But there are millions of people in the world whose every time and energy going into something, and they do want something for themselves, and that ownership is a key factor that the blockchain brings. When we talk about blockchain, we should not look at the technology. All our discussions, everything that we talk about is how great the technology is, but it's philosophy first. That's the whole white paper of Bitcoin about. The whole momentum that we have here is because of the philosophy that it represents before the technology. We want something, a place where individuals can own something for themselves. Individuals have the right to do what they want with it. They cannot be silenced, they cannot be hidden, they cannot be killed. It's their asset, their voice, and they like to express that. And it is also across the world. It's not like shutting one server down and everything goes down. So that's the beauty of the creators economy, and we are all creators, whether we like it or not. And that's the reality of the world we live in. So creators economy has a much bigger number of people, adoption size, than what even asset tokenization can. Although on the dollar side, that might be a $16 trillion market. This is a market that touches the minds and hearts of every person out there.
And specifically on that philosophy part that you said, like, this is for the first time, this is a kind of this version of the internet is gonna allow us to be more human online. And this is a topic that we can go more deep into it, but in terms of like the evolution of digital identity that we had from the Web 1, that you had just username, password for different websites, and then the ownership and control of those identity was with different websites. We moved to federated identity, that is some middleman over there, Facebook, Google. We all had the concept of like sign up with Google, sign up with Facebook. And now it's like, which is not natural, but now we move to the Web3 that your identity being on your wallet, you own and control it. It's similar, like going to a bar, you want to show that if you're 18-year-old or not, what would you do? You have your ID, you show it to them. But in the federated identity, the Web 2 is like every time I'm going to a bar, I want to tell someone to the bouncer that I'm 18 or not. I have to say, hey, Facebook, hey, Sander, come here and show them that I'm 18. This is not natural. This is not what we have in the real world.
And then today we heard multiple times, Web3 is very community-driven, community-based. I think another very important thing for this community-driven Web3 ecosystem is community would do, they would do a lot of things, right? Also, Web2 social platforms, they do a lot of things, but they never get compensated. I think with blockchain in Web3, community, will still very community driven, but those people will get compensated fairly for their work. I think to me that's the most significant thing Web3 can bring to social media platforms.
I feel like I'm the only one talking, but I have a great example of what you were saying, but I leave it to that.
I totally agree with you, and I just realized that there is a lot of big projects and thinking about creating the new social platform on the Web3 with all this in mind, because when we talk about Web3, of course, we talk about the evolution of the internet and decentralization, so it's super interesting, and I always say like it's the healthier internet for every user. But the thing is, when I start to talk and to go deeper on this subject about this new economy and this new healthy internet, they always said, yeah, but we need this mass adoption. Like we need people that really think about it and really realize that it's better to use this social platform on the Web3 instead of the Web2, but they don't want, because everyone that is like linked to the whole social networks on the Web2, they are there because everyone is there, and they can show to their friends, and they can show to everyone. So this part of like having also this flex also with everyone, like you can show your new car, you can show everything. People love that. So now I want to like to go deeper and say, okay, but how we can use the fact that all these people on the Web2 just realize and want to go on the Web3. And when I had discussion on that, I realized that we don't have to focus on the technology behind the Web3. Like we don't have to put any, like, the main subject doesn't have to be like the technology, the smart contract, and how the economic on the Web3 works. We have to focus into like having the same platform on the Web2. Like people doesn't even have to know that they are on the Web3, you know. And behind the scene, having this tokenization of your own content, your own assets, that's the real game changer for me. But we need to have the same, like, to be in the same mood, in the same direction of these social networks as TikTok, as Instagram, and as all these different social networks that people are used to use now. And don't go in the direction we are only Web3 and focus Web3, because for me Web3 works with the Web2. Like we cannot separate that. So.
Maybe to add to that, because I think we had exactly that discussion at the lunch table. I think when I was at Paris Blockchain Week and there was the founder of Reddit speaking about social networks, there was a startup asking, hey, if I would build a decentralized social network now, what would be your recommendations? And the Reddit founder just said, yeah, just don't do it, because it's so hard to build a social network that really takes off. And that's why if we just keep in our bubble and we try to establish a Web3 based social network, as great as it sounds, it's so hard to pull this off and to make this really mass adoption. I mean, I know a couple of people who do Web3 networks, or like who are building decentralized social networks, and I don't know, I really hope there will be mass adoption, but it's so hard, and that's why maybe we should try to find a way to incorporate it in a Web2 world, maybe in a better way than Threads said it, because when Threads launched, I think they also said, yeah, we're gonna make it decentralized at some point, maybe. And I don't really believe this is gonna happen, and I think the volume there is really low anyways, but that shows that even the giants have trouble to reestablish new social networks, because it's so hard to gain this traction, and then we as Web3 should maybe rather partner with the likes of Reddit, but really force them into the Web3 thinking and not make it just a superficial nice tag on their wall.
If I may, I think one important point that we have to consider over here is that we mentioned Web 2, Web 3, but when it comes to the end user, for them they don't care. And we should start also thinking that there is no Web 2, Web 3. These are all like definitions that we defined and we put it over there. And a lot of the stuff that we on the Web 2, Web 3 communities, we try to be very maxi on it. Oh, there's ownership. Oh, there's data security. A lot of people don't care. In Web 2 and social medias in Web 2, they taught us that for them, I'm talking about the masses, UX UI trumps data security, trumps ownership. There are few people they care about it, but majority of the people do not care.
So
And
now where do you see the breakthrough? Do you see
I think it's a matter of time, and the fact is the technologies that we're using are so immature still, and that the whole blockchain like blockchain technology in general as a technology. We're discussing this also last week with Sander, that the first time even in a sci-fi novel, as the concept of cryptocurrencies, which is the start of the whole blockchain technology, mentioned was in the late 90s. But where we're talking about the VR technology, machine learning, the AI that is a sexy term these days, these technologies been there since the 50s. So this is still very new, and we just need time. I do different workshops with even different banks, and a lot of them, because the whole industry, the sector is being very, it's over 100-year-old or hundreds of years old of the sector. They're looking for something that is finished, finalized, structures, refined. It doesn't exist. But and they're directly, a lot of them, they're directly looking at, oh, what is my ROI on this project overall? Which my answer to these, I'm making a joke with them, is like, when you're doing in general innovation, which in this case these are innovation, you should not look at the ROI, return on investment, but you should look at the ROE, return of existence. If you don't make your hands dirty right now, are you going to be able to compete with those that they already been through this process, and when the market is more mature, are you able to deliver that to your customers before someone else come and steal them from you?
I think I used to just compare the best example is like the phones, right? You had this big phones in the past, and then I think the Web3 is in the place like the Nokia button phones right now. We still have a long way to go to the smartphone times and all those fancy phones. It's like you said, it's a matter of time. And like you're referring to, we shouldn't be looking at this Web2, Web3 thing. If you're talking about using a MySQL database, you wouldn't talk about it. You just would use the database. Blockchain is a distributed database, so why would you even refer to it? The philosophy of the distribution and all of that, it's like cloud had one layer of distribution before, and now what we are trying to accomplish is the distribution of the ownership and the operation of that as well. So I think it's a transition that soon people would start accepting, just like you see how from hotels moving their booking online to Airbnb coming up, changing the business model. Right now we are changing the business model once again by removing the middleman as well, and that's happening in every industry. That's the whole cycle of changes that is progressive to what we are doing here. So I think it's natural phenomenon, and there's always going to be something else that's improving. And just that in the Web3, it's much faster. Like in AI space, things change very quick.
And we need to accept that we are a cult. And if someone's working in the Web3, they're going to tell you they're working in the Web3, even if you don't want to hear it. It's like being a vegan. If someone is vegan, they're going to tell you they're vegan. If someone is having a Harley, they're going to tell you they have a Harley. So
now I have a question for Elias, as a creator yourself. How do you see creators benefit from this Web3 tokenization of creativity?
So I think what is interesting here and what needs to be looked at is creators create content, okay, and at one point they need to earn something from that content that it creates, and that content performs in a certain way. Usually it could perform well or it could perform bad. But what is interesting with Web3 and everything that we are talking about is ownership. For me, to own what you create is the main point of what Web3 and creator economy 3.0 is bringing. Why? Because, for example, today you publish a post, something on Instagram, you don't own it. Anybody can reshare it, they can take it, create a new content based on what you did. And what could be interesting in the future is you create a content, you publish it, somebody take that content, recreate something with it, but still, automatically, it knows that it's you that you have created that. And even if somebody has created something based on what you did, you still earn something. You still get something from the creation of somebody else that creates something based on what you have created. And those key aspects are something linked to copyrights, different things from royalties, music, and it will be more transparent and more automatic. Because at the end, when there are humans behind it, you still can commit errors, but when it's a code, it's only how it's coded. It could be bad coded, obviously, but if it's well done, it's automatic. So that's what my answer.
I think I have a question for you on this as a creator. Like you were referring, it's about the UI and UX, right? For as a creator, it doesn't matter whether you're making money in a platform, but if you get $2 out of it and 3 likes, you would rather choose a platform where you don't own anything, where there are millions of people, and because the fan base is more important to the creator, and exactly. So it is a combination of both of those, and I think it all comes back to the improvement to make it easier. But what is your opinion?
I completely agree. At the end, user experience, and at the end, users, as I was saying before, if there is no listener of your music, you will never earn anything from it. So you need people that are into it. So you need a platform where there's users. Those users come usually when there is good content. So it's a mix of both. It's a mix of creating something good, people that want to watch it, and then you bring users, and you keep improving the content, and you keep improving the acquisition of new clients, the new users. And those two things are not easy, because it's something that takes a lot of time. So right now what I would suggest is we need to work on the technology aspect, we need to figure out how to do it, and once it looks ready, we need to build something that makes sense and a good product. And from that point, share it, people will use it, and if it's not good enough, we need to improve it. And yeah, that's how you don't just build something from the ground up just by thinking about it. You need a lot of actions and a lot of time.
Obviously, we have a very long way to go before mass adoption. Like previously in Michael's presentation, we can see in 2025 we might have a mass adoption of Web3 applications.
I think I kind of disagree with that statement a little bit, because if you look at Twitter, Twitter started sharing their algorithm. And they said, okay, this is how we evaluate, this is how you're being ranked. And they made it public, and they brought this check to monetize, to verify to monetize, and they started paying out creators. None of this is happening on the blockchain, but it's a philosophy that they're trying to adopt. Transparency and sharing the revenue and making that process work with the circular economy of revenue. And once Twitter did that, it took less than 2 weeks for Facebook and everybody else to copy that as well. So it doesn't really need time. It requires one player to boldly take that action and say, okay, this is how it's going to work from now, whether you like it or not. People can say no, people can hate it, but this is how it's going to work.
So it's a very centralized approach.
It is a centralized approach with Twitter, but imagine the same.
Not everything has to be decentralized. That's why, like what I was saying also, we became a cult. Not everything should be decentralized. Not everything, when it's decentralized, is a better option.
That's very intriguing. Let's leave that discussion open for later. So now we have to wrap up. I have one more question for Anna. So you're in the recruitment business for Web3. So you work with a lot of big corporations. What are their attitude towards Web3 adoption, and then do they see Web3 as part of their strategy and future growth?
Yeah, to be honest, right now I work mostly with Web3 native protocols, actually, to gain street credibility, to show that even though we are Web2 or Web1 brand, we're very, very close to the market and really to the OGs. But you're right that, we work on other topics with the big Web2 brands, with Airbnb as a main customer of ours, as well as Microsoft and the likes of that. So what do we see and how do they perceive Web3? I think, in general, if you look at the Fortune 100 companies, about 80 of them have some kind of a team doing something in blockchain or Web3, let's say like this. It could be prototyping, just doing some research, or actually having some products and already rolling things out. So there's definitely a strong interest into having something there. At the same time, we should be honest that it's usually very small fractions of these companies that do that. I mean, for instance, recently I talked to Kühne & which is a huge logistics company, also, I mean, based in Switzerland as well. And in Hamburg, I met the guys, and there are 2 blockchain guys in this company of 80,000 people. So, yeah, they are in Web3 and blockchain, but like, you know. And the same is true for Coca-Cola and also other big brands. Like, just because they're there, and even if they made an NFT collection and raised a couple of millions with that, people are sometimes like, wow, then Coca-Cola made a lot of money on that. And then if I ask the people at Coca-Cola, like, hey, does your CEO actually realize the potential here? They're maybe like, you know, we make so much revenue elsewhere, it's not really visible yet. And it's usually a middle management revolution kind of thing in the Web2 companies. It's usually not the C-level, unlike Meta, of course, where Zuckerberg said, okay, we rebrand to Meta and we make this our focus. Or with MasterCard, this is definitely something where the C-levels are pushing it. But most companies, it's more like a Web3 degen person in this company, maybe bored with their job or looking for something cool. And then they push this internally and make small new teams. And usually the recruitment is really from internal. Of course, there are external. Sometimes they hire head of metaverse externally or head of Web3, blockchain, and engineers. But most of the time they try to find people from within, because then it's people who already know the culture of the company. There's less risk for them involved, because while there is movement from Web2 into Web3, while there's not that much movement from Web3 natives to Web2 corporates, because it's just too much of a culture clash off.
I can definitely see the big corporations start being interested in NFT projects. So our sister project, Yumi Marketplace, we recently started working with a huge French company called Sodexo to help them launch their first NFT project. So I can definitely see as a trend. Okay.
It's definitely a trend, and I think luxury brands particularly are at the forefront of this. Of course, also with payment, because, well, it's natural. But still, I just want to put it into perspective. Sometimes we're like, oh wow, Starbucks is now also in Web3, and Reddit is now doing Web3. Yes, they are, but we're still in the beginning and infancy stage.
Cool. All right, we're gonna close this panel on a very bright note. We have hope for the future for Web3 space. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you. Thank you, my panel.